as Donald Trump's recent announcement to retreat from major global economic alliances while simultaneously proposing a sweeping surge in tariffs has reignited intense global debate. In a move that stunned economists and foreign governments alike, as Trump declared his intent to implement tariffs as high as 50% on imports from key economic partners, most notably China, but also countries like Japan, South Korea, Mexico, and even some NATO allies, this drastic shift signals more than just an economic maneuver. It represents a full-throttle return to his America First doctrine and a rejection of the multilateral trade framework that has governed global commerce for decades. Trump argues that America has been cheated for years by unfair trade deals, imbalanced partnerships, as in globalization that hollowed out American manufacturing. He blames previous presidents, both Democrat and Republican, for outsourcing jobs, weakening domestic industries, and enriching adversaries like China at the expense of the American worker. According to Trump, the solution is simple: abandon globalist policies, take control of America's economy through unilateral actions, and punish foreign competitors who exploit the US market. This ideology is the driving force behind his proposed tariff surge. The new tariffs would affect hundreds of billions of dollars in imported goods, including electronics, vehicles, clothing, steel, pharmaceuticals, and agricultural products. While Trump frames this as a way to boost domestic manufacturing and rebuild American industry, critics argue the tariffs will effectively function as a massive new tax on consumers and businesses. In past instances, such as during his first term, similar tariff policies led to increased prices across numerous sectors, especially consumer electronics, as farming equipment and automobile parts. Economists are sounding the alarm that this renewed trade war could reignite inflation, which, although recently cooled from its pandemic-era highs, remains a key concern for American families. Imported goods account for a significant share of what US consumers use every day, from smartphones and laptops to furniture, tools, and groceries. With a 50% tariff slapped onto those imports, the cost of living could soar, hitting middle and working class Americans the hardest. And in a fragile post-pandemic economy still recovering from supply chain breakdowns and interest rate hikes, these added costs could tip parts of the economy back into recession territory, as Trump's policies also mark a deep strategic divergence from the traditional bipartisan consensus that the United States should lead through alliances and multilateral cooperation, as he has called for dramatically reducing US involvement in organizations like the World Trade Organization and the United Nations. He has criticized the World Health Organization, the Paris Climate Accords, and the Trans-Pacific Partnership, all of which he sees as unnecessary constraints on US sovereignty. His goal is to rebuild a self-contained American economy that doesn't rely on unpredictable partners and can thrive even in isolation. But that vision comes with serious geopolitical risks. The global economy is deeply interconnected, and any move by the United States to decouple from key partners could invite retaliatory measures. China, the European Union, and other major economies have historically responded to US tariffs with their own, as often targeting politically sensitive industries like agriculture, aerospace, and automotive manufacturing. During Trump's previous trade war with China, American farmers lost billions in exports due to retaliatory tariffs on soybeans, corn, and pork, as the federal government had to step in with record subsidies to keep them afloat. An irony that many critics pointed out, as since the policy aimed to create independence, but ended up requiring government intervention. Trump claims the ultimate goal is to force fairer trade deals and bring manufacturing back home. He points to success stories like the growth of US as steel production and the opening of a handful of new factories as evidence that his policies work. But even supporters acknowledge that the results have been mixed. While some industries saw short-term gains, others like farming, tech manufacturing, and retail, faced higher costs and reduced competitiveness. And as for China, the country responded to US has pressure by doubling down on its own self-reliant strategy, expanding trade with Africa, South America, and Europe while building out internal markets to reduce dependence on US demand. The implications of Trump's current proposals are even more far-reaching than before. His suggested 10% universal tariff on all imported goods, not just those from adversarial countries, would mark the most aggressive protectionist move by the US since the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act of 1930, which famously contributed to the Great Depression. The move could upset not just economic allies, but deeply integrated trade relationships with countries like Canada and Mexico, which form the backbone of North American supply chains. Automobiles, electronics produce, and countless other essentials could see production delays, shortages, and price hikes. At the same time, this strategy is resonating with a large segment of the American electorate. Voters in deindustrialized towns, former manufacturing hubs, and rural communities often feel betrayed by decades of offshoring, automation, and stagnation. To them, as Trump's tariffs offer more than just economic protection, they represent a sense of national pride and economic justice, as these voters believe that the global system has enriched corporate elites and foreign nations while leaving them behind. As Trump's message, loud, unapologetic, and defiant, strikes a powerful emotional chord with those who feel forgotten by globalization. As, from a political standpoint, Trump's China policy is setting up a sharp contrast with President Biden. As while Biden has kept some tariffs in place, his administration has leaned more heavily into rebuilding alliances, competing with China through industrial investments like the Tariffs Act, and promoting American tech leadership abroad. Biden's strategy hinges on global partnerships and long-term resilience. Trump's strategy, by contrast, is aggressive, immediate, and focused on dominance. The 2024 election could hinge on which vision the American public prefers, as global collaboration or economic nationalism. China's reaction so far has been cautious but firm. Chinese state media has condemned Trump's rhetoric as reckless provocation, while government officials have hinted at potential countermeasures if the tariffs are enacted. Beijing has become increasingly adept at insulating its economy from US shocks. But a full-scale trade war could still hurt both sides, as the US and China remain each other's largest trading partners, and any disruption in that relationship could ripple through global markets, spark stock sell-offs, and delay economic recovery worldwide. The global financial community is watching nervously. Investors are bracing for volatility, especially in tech and manufacturing stocks. Currency markets are already reacting to the uncertainty, with the US dollar and Chinese yuan fluctuating based on political headlines. If tensions escalate, we could see a new wave of capital flight, trade restructuring, and shifting supply chains, all of which could take years to stabilize. Trump's retreat from global institutions and surge in tariffs isn't just a short-term policy debate. It's a reshaping of America's role in the world. Will the US continue to lead through cooperation and integration, or will it try to dominate through unilateral force and economic walls? That's the question at the heart of this moment. For supporters of Trump's strategy, this is a long overdue correction to decades of bad deals and diplomatic weakness. For critics, it's a dangerous gamble that could isolate the US, drive up costs, and spark global conflict. Either way, the decisions being made right now about trade tariffs and alliances will shape the next generation of American leadership and economic identity. Whether you agree or disagree with Trump's vision, one thing is clear: the United States is at a turning point. The choices made in the coming months could determine not just the outcome of an election, but the direction of the nation for decades to come.